Hello. So, in this video, I'm going to talk about travel. I know travel is a big problem for people doing the nutritional balancing program. Um, I've travelled around while I've been on nutritional balancing program. I've learnt some lessons. So hopefully, in this video, I'm going to talk to you about some of the lessons I've learned and how to travel much more efficiently and effectively while doing the nutritional balancing program. Um, This information's come from my own experience and some articles from Dr. Wilson's website, and I've expanded on some of his points based on my own experience. So, in terms of travel, I tend to find that the best kind of way of doing it is getting a self-catered apartment or room or condominium. The good thing about being self-catered is it means that you've got your own kitchen, you've got access to your own space, your own private room, etc. I tend to go on a website called Airbnb, which I find is really good because it's people, the public, who tend to rent out their houses or their flats or their condominiums, or even their spare bedrooms, which you got to be a little bit more careful about. But I generally hire out full flats from people. It tends to be really cheap, and the good thing about that is you're in control of everything. You've got the kitchen. You can turn off the Wi-Fi if need be. It tends to be. I feel like it tends to be cleaner because usually, it's coming from people who are wanting to rent this out to the public rather than in a hotel where cleaners just really give it a quick sweep, which is not too good. And you can find some really really nice apartments, like really super kind of unique and just places that you wouldn't expect. I mean, I've had Airbnbs in like gypsy wagons, like a full wagon that was kitted out with a kitchen and bathroom and stuff. Places out in nature, places by the coast, like really really nice, and you get to meet some really nice people as well doing that. So in general, that's what I found best for me personally is using Airbnb to get around. So that would be a good idea. In terms of traveling, usually what I've found is it's best really to travel on land. It's best to kind of use a car or a train if need be. What I found is that I used to want to travel long distances, and then you got plane problems and jet lag and all the poor food and moving to a different country and the body new diseases and infections, and you know some places need vaccines and all that kind of stuff, when in reality, like, just even your own country can be great, like, or I live in England, France, Spain, them sort of places that I can travel by land is usually much easier. I can get in my car, for example, and travel down to Cornwall or travel up to Scotland. Beautiful, beautiful places. I can take my time. I can keep stopping off. I can take my own food. I know England. I know how it runs. I know, I'm not having to learn a new language. I know the restaurants that, I know what certain type of restaurant chains are good. I know what type of restaurants are clean. So, sometimes I just think there's no need necessarily to go to these exotic countries where this tends to be more diseases and all that kind of stuff, because it can just ruin things a little bit. Taking a train is can be good. It's more calmer, it's more relaxed. You're not having to have weird schedules where you're catching planes at 3 o'clock in the morning and doing all these things that are just a little bit harmful for the body. Another good example is kind of using an RV van. That's even, in many ways, it's even better. Difficult sometimes when you're living in a cold country, because obviously, like, if you're traveling in an RV van or a camper van in the winter, it can get really cold. But the good thing about the camper van, you got your own kitchen, you got your own stove. But I do feel that it's not as superior as kind of an Airbnb. I love traveling around England in my car. Put all my vegetables in my car, put everything in my car, take my time. Just be slow and get to where I need to be in Airbnb, and you can have a wonderful time. And it's really nice that I know kind of what's going off, or I can go to France or Spain or whatever. Air travel on the whole is pretty bad. There's numerous problems with air travel. The biggest one really is the radiation problem. Like the engines kick out so much EMF, it's just a nightmare. You're sat in kind of bad, poor quality air. The food is always a nightmare when you're traveling on planes. You know, you can't take through often what you need to take through. You know, often there can be kind of, you know, what supplements are you taking through, and you can't, you know, take water through, and it's expensive. You know, you're having to wait around in airports for hours and catching planes at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, and for me, it's just stressful. It just makes things stressful. You know, generally I find that if you can really plan things well, if you're doing air travel, so you know, just you know, making sure that you're flying in the daytime, you know, making sure that you know exactly where you are, you know exactly where your villa is if you got an Airbnb, you know, take a few important things which I'll get onto later on in the video. Then it's not as bad. Generally, I find the further away you go from your country is more of a nightmare because the jet lag. You know, if you're in Thailand, which is like 7 hours in front of us, you got jet lag for 4 or 5 days, and to me, it's just not worth the stress. Although these places can be really beautiful and exotic, um, I think sometimes just you know looking on your own doorstep is pretty great. I mean, I just feel much more happier when I'm in control of you know where I'm traveling to, and you know I can speak English, and it just makes things easier. I'm just giving you my advice, but I think this is the same advice for everyone. You know, you can't really um, countries as well is really yin. It ungrounds you. You know, you can speak to a lot of people, travelers and nomads and stuff, and they always say they always feel ungrounded. They always feel like a bit out of sorts, a bit spacey, a bit heady, and that's what traveling does. Really, it makes you quite yin. Although you can have great experiences and you can expand your cultural awareness and all that kind of stuff, it does kind of unground you a little bit and feels a little bit unsettled. A lot of these people that go traveling kind of feel a sense of loss, feel a little bit empty. They're away from friends and family, and often they don't realise what it is. But it's usually because they've become a bit too yin. However, if you are travelling a long distance, I have a little technique for you to do, which is called the drag. Basically, this is quite an esoteric subject, but it's true. So when you're traveling long distances, your aura, your energetic field can kind of get split in two, and you can actually bring that back by stimulating various kind of channels within the body. And I've tried this and it works, you know. So I will never give you anything that I've not tried and it's not worked. So basically, if you're in another country and you got jet lag, you can do this technique and things will feel much better in general. So with the opposite hand, what you want to do is you want to all the way down to the knuckle is hold the thumb and fingers for 1, 2, 3, or 4 1, 2 to 5 seconds. 5 seconds is best, and you can usually feel a little bit of tingling, and you can kind of feel it in your body, just this strange sensation of energy coming back to you. It's very bizarre. So 5 seconds on each finger. Make sure you get right down to the knuckle, and just hold it there. And as soon as you do that, you can feel an energy shift in your body. It's quite unique for 5 seconds, and you do that all the way along on each finger every hour, and you will feel generally much better as your energy centers come back again. I understand that's an esoteric thing to do, but you know I do believe it to be the truth. So check it out for yourself. Another fairly good way of traveling is on cruises. I've been on a couple of cruises. They are really good in my opinion. They're quite relaxed. It's just it's more gentle. Everything's more down to earth. The good thing is there's buffets there usually, so you can pick and choose what foods you want. You know, sometimes often there's a spas and stuff with sometimes there's like infrared saunas and good quality massage that you can book. I quite like I quite like cruises. You can see a lot of different countries at once without getting too stressed out. You know, one of the bad things about cruises is that they spray a lot of pesticides inside there because obviously traveling to different countries, you know, there's problems with catching viruses and stuff like that. So that's kind of one of the downsides to cruises. But in general, it's pretty good. I quite like it. So in terms of eating, this is usually the most difficult part, really, especially when you're doing a nutrition balancing program. So I've got a few tips that would be useful. So the first thing that I always take with me, I put in my rucksack, is a steaming basket. You can buy little metal steaming baskets that fold away, and they're really tiny. They're only this big. You can put them in your rucksack. The good thing about this is whenever you go to any kitchen or any, a self-catering place, you know, there's always going to be a pan there and a lid. Or even if there's not a lid, you can use a plate. So all you need to do really is fill a little bit of water, put some water in the pan, and you put the steaming basket in there, put your vegetables on top, and put a lid on top of there, and you've got steamed vegetables. It's really, really handy. I take it around everywhere with me. You can also take a pan if you like in your rucksack. So you've got a pan and a steaming basket. That always works quite well. I mean, you don't even need a steaming basket really. You can actually just put a little bit of water inside a pan, and just put the vegetables in there without a steaming basket, and it'll kind of create steam, and you can steam your vegetables like that, which is a good technique as well if you're traveling. Another decent thing to do is buy a small electronic steamer that you can plug into walls. Obviously, make sure you've got an adapter if you're traveling to different countries. But the good thing about that is you don't need, if you've not got a kitchen or an electronic hob or anything like that, you got your electric steamer, you can just plug it into the wall and steam your vegetables in there. It's a little bit awkward sometimes steaming vegetables in your hotel room, so make sure the windows are open a little bit, or you can stink out the whole kind of hallway. When I'm traveling in the car, I always have a gas stove, a travel gas stove in my car. With that, it's just a travel one. You can open it up, turn the gas on. You got your pan, you got your steaming basket, you got your vegetables. Super, super simple to do. It just makes life so much easier. So sometimes when you're out and about, generally the best thing to do is to steam your vegetables in the morning. Usually when I get to a new place, I'll try and find out the nearest organic store, or at least the nearest store that sells vegetables, and I'll go and pick a bunch of vegetables if I haven't already brought some in my car. If I'm traveling around England, if I'm traveling around England, I'll just go to the shop and basically just fill my car with vegetables, and I'll just use it, take my vegetables out when I need to. The good thing about Airbnb is you've got your own condominium, so there's often a fridge in there where you can take your vegetables out, put it in the fridge. You don't have to worry about anything. So in the morning, I usually just eat my vegetables, and you can make extra vegetables, pop it in a little lunchbox. I had a lunchbox bought for me. It's really cool, and it keeps your food warm. The lunchbox is by a company called Aladdin. I think it's spelled Aladin. If you want to check that out, it's just a little carry case that keeps your vegetables warm, so you can get a good meal in there. But if you are eating out, try and check out the cleanliness of the restaurant. You usually get a feel for it when you go in there. You need to be a bit careful because even restaurants with good reviews aren't necessarily that clean. The best, if you can do what I do and just try and take your food out with you, it just makes life so much easier. I found when you go into different countries, it's really hard to make them understand that you need a full plate of vegetables. So often, the easiest thing to do is just to order extra vegetables, like 3 portions. When I was in Mexico, trying to get cooked vegetables over there was an absolute nightmare. You would ask and you would just get like a side plate full of vegetables, so you just order 3 portions and things would be much better. Try and drink bottled water is an important one as much as possible. Don't use tap water in different countries, not even for brushing your teeth. It's just not worth it. It's just terrible over there. In England it's not as bad. The water system isn't too bad in England. Especially where I live in the north of England, it's not chlorinated, which is good. But still, bottled water, spring water is just going to go so much more further than drinking tap water or anything like that. A good thing always abroad, if you can eat eggs, boiled eggs. They're just so easy to cook. You can usually find them in restaurants. You can usually guaranteed they're pretty clean because once you take what they cooked in the shell. So that's pretty handy. It's always good to ask for boiled eggs in restaurants. But if you can, it is a good idea to take snacks with you. So, some snacks in a nutritional balancing program could be blue corn chips. Natural cereals are not too bad. You can get them boxed up. Fresh cheese and sardines, almond butter. Obviously, if you are traveling in a car or an RV, you can take your vegetables, and a lot of vegetables will last for a few days. You can use a cooler bag. Keep a cooler bag in the boot of the car, and it just helps, keep everything fresh and cool. Generally, the best restaurants are really Chinese, Thai, and East Indian restaurants. You need to be careful of the MSG and the oils that they cook in. So usually, I just ask what oil do they use. You don't want to be using any poor quality oils and stuff. And the MSG tends to be a bit of an issue as well. But yeah, some countries like Mexico is not good for food. They live basically off cheese, poor quality cheese, and it's just. I once ate a chicken in Mexico, and I had the worst stomach bug ever. It's just difficult when you're traveling around, like. So it's just much better to try and keep it as controlled as possible. That's why I like to travel around in my own country. England's a beautiful country. The landscape's amazing. Sometimes people don't appreciate their own country, so it's just so much better just to hire out a camper van or get a car, drive down somewhere, catch a train, get an Airbnb. You can have a beautiful time. Saves all the stress of having to go to different countries and have jet lag and stuff. So other hints for traveling, it's a good idea to travel as light as possible. Lugging things around all the time is a bit of a pain. Try and dress respectfully, especially when you're in other countries. There is some danger going to other countries. I've been to countries before, and with my sister and my friends, and some people just act differently. I was in Turkey one time, and they have this thing for people with blonde hair, and my mom and sister got really harassed. So just be careful about how you portray yourself in different countries. I'm not saying I'm not trying to kill the fun, but there's just and needed to be an added awareness on how you come across, because certain countries can portray women and men differently, and it's just something that I've found to be a little bit off-putting when I've gone to various places. This is an obvious one. Keep your valuables close with you. The last thing you want to do is lose something. And I had a terrible experience once when I was catching a cruise, and I was with a partner at the time, and she wasn't, she didn't look after her passport, and she lost her passport while we was going down to the cruise on the train. I can't remember where we were. We was in the middle of it was just a nightmare. I'm quite good at time management. Unfortunately, my partner wasn't as good at time management as me, so we ended up missing our flight to even get to the cruise. So we had to get a new flight to, I think it was in Spain, but we had to travel to a different city in Spain and then catch the train down to the cruise because we'd missed our flight that just went direct. So that was an initial stress, which has stressed me out. Just not worth the hassle. And then when we got the train down to the cruise, in the train journey, she figured out she'd lost her passport. So she had a passport on the plane, and then for whatever reason, it wasn't kept close, and she lost it. And we had to they wouldn't let us on the cruise because we didn't have a passport. So we had to catch a train to Rome in Italy, get a new passport from the Mexican exchange, and then we had to catch a plane to where the cruise was and get on the cruise. And travel to different countries, really. For me, it's just not really worth the hassle when you're trying to look after your health. I don't want to be a killjoy, but that's just the truth of the matter, and I've seen it with loads of other people, not even people that have been on a nutrition balancing program, and sometimes I just say, look, just keep things simple, and you'll just have so much of a better time. You know, bring earplugs and eye patches. Sometimes they're a godsend, especially when you're on. You know, when I was in Thailand, and you know, you're just not used to the insects and stuff like making noises at night. You know, earplugs so much easier. You know, when you're on a plane, they usually give you an eye patch, but you know, light. You know, you're not in control of things, so just having an eye patch just kind of make things really good. Be extra careful about cleanliness. Make sure you're washing your hands plenty of times. You know, I like to take some antibacterial spray that I can keep washing my hands with. You know, the amount of times that I've gone to a different country and within the first day or two, you know, I'm getting some sort of virus because my body's just not used to it. I mean, it happens to everyone, whether you're not that you're on a nutrition balancing program or not. So yeah, in the past, I mean, I'm talking before I even start the program, I would go to different countries and, you know, I'd spend the first week just with a bit of a stomach bug from the new food and, you know, from the jet lag, just a drain really. You know, pack up your supplements beforehand. You know, have the little baggies and put them all into the bags for like 1 to 2 weeks, however long you're going for. You know, you have to be a little bit careful about taking supplements as hand luggage for obvious reasons. They can be a bit suspicious, so it's better to put in your suitcase. But yeah, you want to be taking your supplements, especially like GB3, the digestive enzyme, you know, because digestion can take a real hit when you're going on holiday, so that's really super important. You know, be aware of kind of, you know, again, I don't want to be a killjoy, but it's just the truth. You know, be aware of like swimming pools and hot tubs and all that kind of stuff. They're just literally breeding grounds, you know, for infections and diseases and like STDs and stuff. You know, the best thing to do is kind of go in the sea, and much better for you. I would say that, you know, if you can get your own Airbnb, sometimes they have like pools and stuff. Tend to be a little bit better, I suppose. You can put some hydrogen peroxide in there if you're you know, traveling within your country. I'm pretty sure you won't be able to take hydrogen peroxide on a plane, but that could be an idea. You know, if you want, a good idea is if you're in hotel rooms, take your own bed sheets. You know, flip the mattress and just give it a quick clean. You know, you just can't trust the cleanliness these days. Sometimes you got to take some responsibility, and you know, take your own bed sheets and stuff, just for peace of mind, really. Again, you know what I said before, take a steaming basket and an electric steamer, makes things much easier to travel with. So that's pretty much it for this travel video. You know, I don't really want to put anyone off traveling, but the truth of the matter is, it is a stressful thing to do. You know, sometimes just look on your own doorstep. It just makes things so much easier. I love traveling around where I live. You know, I mean, I live next to the Peak District, which is a national reserve in England, and it's beautiful. You know, and you know, it's a 25-minute trip out there. I can stay out there in an Airbnb for 4, 5, 7 days with friends, with family, and it's just like being on holiday, really. You know, I have to question sometimes the reasons why I would want to go to a different country with all the pollution and all the, you know, stress and jet lag and poor food and, you know, catching planes and all that kind of stuff. It's just difficult, and it does slow down your development. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, then just email me, lewis@deephealingspace.com. If you want to start the nutrition balancing program, again, just email me. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll speak soon.